darkness tries to roll over my bones, when sorrow comes to steal the joy I own, when brokenness and pain is all I know, I won't be shaken. No, I won't be shaken. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. There's power
Hey Doodlers, welcome back to a special Live at Lunch Doodling with Dan. And you know what? It's summertime. Don't you love summertime? I love summertime. The sun's out, it's warmer, the days are longer. One of the things I love are birds and bugs everywhere. And you know what? We already drew my favorite bug, which is a bee. I love the honeybee because bees make honey, not bears. Bees make honey. And so, my second favorite bug that comes out in the summer is a ladybug. And one of the things that I love about the ladybug is this. I have a daughter named Katie, and ever since she was a baby, I've always called her my Katie bug. And I wanted Katie to join me, but she's too shy. So instead, I've invited her son, my grandson, Jack. Jack's back. Jack's back to do Doodling with Dan. And today, come on over here, buddy. Today, we're gonna draw a ladybug. So I'm gonna get you a pen, and can you reach up here? Okay. You want me to take that cap off? So we're gonna do a ladybug. And to do our ladybug, just a second, Jack, I'm gonna show the shapes. We're gonna use circles, and half circles, and ovals, and football shapes. Yeah, I'm gonna do a football shape to do a ladybug, you'll see. And we're gonna do something new, a swirl, do a little swirl, and some lines. Those are all the shapes you need to draw a ladybug. And then, while we do our ladybug, when we color it, I'm going to just give you a quick little Bible verse about what I think when I think of ladybugs too. So let's get started. To do our ladybug, we're gonna start by drawing our football shape. I'm gonna draw my football shape right here. Yeah, there we go. Football shape, good job, Jack. And then now, I'm gonna take another half circle. And I'm gonna start here and go down here and here. And then, is it looking like a ladybug? Not yet. I'm gonna take some other, what this is though, that's the ladybug's head. And then that's the ladybug's smile. And I'm gonna put, for cheeks, little tiny half circles. For cheeks. Now my ladybug has cheeks. Good job, buddy. And now, let's give our ladybug some eyes. 2 circles for eyes. There's 1 and 2. Now my ladybug has eyes. And ladybug needs pupils, so let's put pupils in our ladybug's eye. 1 and 2. Now it is a ladybug, right, Jack? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that ladies have pretty eyes, don't they? And they have long eyelashes. So I'm gonna put 4 eyelashes on each eye. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4. That is looking like a ladybug's head, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Good job. Now, I'm gonna start at the bottom of one side of my left side of my football, and I'm gonna make another circle, big circle. And that is my ladybug body. There we go, one big circle that meets on each side of my football. And before I go any further, our ladybug needs antenna. So I'm going to put the swirl that we talked about. 1 swirl, and there's my 1 antenna, and a second swirl for another antenna. How you doing?
Good.
Good. And now I'm gonna draw 1 line here, right down the middle, because that's where the ladybug's body kind of splits in half for its wings. But our ladybug is not flying, our ladybug is crawling. And now we're gonna put, what do ladybugs have? They're red, and they have, what do they have all over their bodies?
Wait.
Yeah, they have dots, don't they?
Dot.
Yeah, let's put some dots on our ladybug. It's just circles. 1 circle. Here, I'm gonna make them different sizes. Here's another bigger circle, and here's another one, and another one. And now I'm going to go on the other side, same thing. Different size circles. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now my ladybug has her dots. She's missing her legs, and ladybugs have 6 legs. And so now I'm going to take little half circles like this, and here's one leg, and at the bottom of that leg, I'm going to put a little oval. So there's another. I'm going to color it in because the black legs, and then another one, half circle, little oval for a foot, and another half circle and an oval for a foot. There we go. Now all I need is 3 more legs. 1, 2, 3. And now we have our ladybug. It's done. And so now what we're going to do while we color, I'm just going to tell a quick little story about ladybugs and what I also think about when I see ladybugs. And I'm going to get the color red because that's my ladybug is red. And so I love that God created. Oh, you need some help? There we go, buddy. Let's get you some colors. So there's some red for your ladybug and some brown for, and then let's color. And so, I love how God created everything.
Were we going to draw a pom-pom?
Well, we drew a ladybug. Why don't you color this ladybug in here? Why don't you color that one in? Red with black dots. Okay? You want to color that?
No.
Okay. You just draw, and then Grandpa will tell a story, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, it's really not a story. It's really just how God created everything. And He created everything so different and so beautiful and sometimes weird and sometimes strange, but always amazing because everything is amazing that God created. And the ladybug's like, God did not have to make that ladybug so cute and it's so good. It's like perfect, perfectly red with perfect little black dots, and it reminds me of James, the book James, in the book of James in the Bible, James 1:17, that tells us everything good comes from God. That's true, huh, Jack? Everything good comes from God. Yeah. And the ladybug reminds me, because God didn't have to be so good to make the ladybug so fun and perfect, and the birds in the air, and everything, the mountains on the horizon, all that. God didn't have to do that. And the ladybug reminds me that God has done everything from God. Everything good comes from God. Isn't that right? So, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining Jack and I for Live at Lunch Doodling with Dan. Jack, you want to say bye?
Bye.
Say thanks for joining us on Live at Lunch. Okay. Bye, doodlers. Be good, be safe, and keep doodling. Bye-bye.
Ooh, perfect. Oh, hey! Glad you guys are here again. Oh, man, I love camping. Sleeping outside. Eating food over a campfire. Campfires are so cool because the stories around a campfire are always the best. Oh, like the story about Joseph from the Bible. When we left off last time, Joseph was made a prince in Egypt. Let me tell you the rest of this campfire story. Maybe you remember, Joseph was one of 12 sons. He was his father's favorite. His father, Jacob, gave him a colorful coat. Joseph loved his coat, but his brothers got so jealous. Then, Joseph made things even worse by telling his brothers all about how God gave him some strange dreams.
I dreamed we were out in the field, tying up bundles of grain, when all of a sudden, my bundle stood up in the middle, and all your bundles gathered around it and bowed down. I was a bundle of grain, and all of you guys were bundles of grain too. But all of your bundles were bowing down to my bundle.
Whew, that was a strange dream, and it made Joseph look even more like a show-off. So no one said a word. It looked like God would make Joseph a great leader someday. But that didn't really help how his brothers felt about Joseph. They already hated him because he was such a bragger. They for sure didn't want to bow down to him. No way. Then Joseph told him about his other dream.
I dreamed I was a star, and 11 other stars were bowing down to me. And the sun and the moon were bowing down to me too.
Joseph's brothers just got even more jealous and more angry with him, until one day they wanted to kill him, their own brother. But instead of killing him, they ripped off his coat, threw him down into a deep pit, and then sold him as a slave in Egypt. Joseph's brothers tore up his coat, and then they told their dad that an animal had eaten their brother. But God was still with Joseph because he became a slave to a wealthy and important man named Potiphar. Potiphar really liked him. And Joseph was put in charge of everything that happened at Potiphar's house. He even got some rich clothes, some good food. But Potiphar's wife said Joseph did something he totally didn't even do, and Joseph was thrown in prison. But even in prison, God made the guards like Joseph so much, they put him in charge of taking care of all the other prisoners. So that was cool. Except Joseph still had no hope of getting out. But one day, the ruler of Egypt, the Pharaoh, he had a strange dream and he didn't know what it meant. So he had heard about this guy Joseph who had dreams from God, and Pharaoh called him to ask him what it meant. God helped Joseph understand that Pharaoh's dream about those skinny cows eating the fat cows, it meant that a famine was coming and there would be no food. Joseph told Pharaoh to save up food so that when the famine hit, everyone would have plenty to eat. Pharaoh liked Joseph's idea so much that he put Joseph in charge as second in command of all of Egypt. Joseph was in charge of getting ready for the famine. And Joseph was so good at his job, for 7 years, all the food in Egypt grew and grew and grew, and the cows were fat and the people were full and happy. And all through those years, Joseph knew to collect a little bit of the grain and to put it in a safe place. Then, after 7 years, just like Joseph had seen in Pharaoh's dream, all the crops dried up, and the food and the grain and even a lot of the animals died. But because of Joseph, the people in Egypt had plenty of food. It was all saved up. The Egyptians had so much food that people from all around came to Egypt to buy food from Joseph. The famine spread all the way back to Joseph's hometown, where Joseph's father and his brothers started running out of food. So Joseph's father, Jacob, told Joseph's brothers to go to Egypt and buy grain. So the brothers walked all the way to Egypt, right into the grain house, where the guy in charge of handing out grain was giving orders and people were bowing down to him. That was Joseph. All the brothers bowed down too. They bowed with their faces on the ground. Does that remind you of anything? Yep, Joseph's dream. It was coming true. But the brothers had no idea that they were bowing down to their long-lost brother Joseph. They hadn't seen him in years, and they never expected he would be running the country, second in command to the Pharaoh himself. They didn't recognize him at all. Joseph, on the other hand, he recognized his brothers right away. He was not happy to see them. He remembered what they had done to him. He remembered them tearing off his colorful coat. He remembered them throwing him down into that pit and then selling him as a slave to Egypt. So Joseph was angry. "What are you doing here?" Joseph asked. We're just 12 brothers. We're just here to get some food," they said. "Then why do I only see 11 brothers?" The brothers explained that one brother was dead. They were talking about Joseph. Joseph wasn't dead. He was right there. Joseph started to cry. So much had happened, but now all his brothers were together again. Joseph realized that at that moment, even though his brothers had done horrible things to him, he still loved them and he wanted to forgive them. Have you ever had to forgive someone who was super mean to you? Gosh, that can be hard. But God wants us to forgive people. And if we have faith, like Joseph, we can hope that no matter what people do to us, God is still there and he will work things out for the best. Joseph believed that. So he looked at his long-lost brothers and he said, "Brothers, it's me, Joseph." All of the brothers gasped. They couldn't believe it. Joseph said, "Come closer. I am your brother Joseph. I'm the one you sold as a slave to Egypt." Oh, the brothers trembled with fear. Did Joseph want revenge? Was he still angry with them? How did they sell their own brother? But Joseph said, "Don't worry. Don't be angry with yourselves. It was God's plan for me to come here." The brothers could not believe what was happening. Joseph kept going. He said, "I am here to save people's lives from this terrible famine." This was God's plan. A couple of the brothers shouted for joy. Some of them began to cry with Joseph and others hugged each other and then they all hugged Joseph. Joseph asked his brothers to bring their father back to Egypt so he could see him again too. And the whole family was reunited. Joseph had dreamed so long ago about bundles of grain, and now he was a leader saving up grain to save people's lives. People were bowing down to him and thanking him for food. Even the Pharaoh, the highest leader in the whole land, he was grateful to Joseph. Joseph's dreams had all come true. And his faith in God kept him looking up even in the middle of hard times. His faith helped him to see that the horrible things that happened to him, they were part of God's plan to save people from the famine. His faith also helped him to forgive his brothers. Remember, faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. Joseph was sure, and he hoped in his dreams from God. And he was so certain that they would come true even when he couldn't see how. And that is faith. What an amazing campfire story.